he wanted to make a point of saying Scottie Pippen goes from equipment manager to, fifth overall draft pick in the NBA draft the year he comes out of Central Arkansas, which is still people don't know where Central Arkansas is. You and I do because Mike Norvell and we're right here and, Conway stand up. But you've never been to Hamburg, Arkansas, and you certainly hadn't heard of Scottie Pippen until he was a Bull. But he was the best player in AIA coming out, and Jerry Krause, who was a grinder, found him. And there's lots to say about Jerry Krause and his role, which is being insecure and being arrogant, but also being really good at his job. Because while, he got on everybody's nerves, he also drafted Scottie Pippen, and he brought Phil Jackson in from the darkness to put him on staff and then elevated him. He also brought Ozzie Guillen in to the White Sox organization, and he worked for Billy Veeck, and he drafted Earl Monroe. All to say, the man knows from talent. He just puts a little bit too much of an emphasis on the system and rather than the people that make the system go, right? Which is surrounding Michael Jordan with shooters and rim protectors and people that would stick up for him while also trading away his best friend to make the team better, right? That'd be getting Bill Winnington in and shipping Charles Oakley out. But the reason I take umbrage with the stories about Scottie Pippen and really the stories about Jordan and his prowess is because they gloss over some very important facts. Like Scottie Pippen had a 6-inch growth spurt in 2 years. Now, he's got that Anthony Davis bit to him as well, where he was able to keep his ball handling skills while becoming 6'7" from 6'1". I submit to you, nobody's going to put Scottie Pippen on scholarship, one, if he can't play, and two, if they don't think that there's any future in it for them. So this idea that you could be Scottie Pippen is wrong. Most of us could never be Scottie Pippen. Most of us are never going to see a 6-inch growth spurt at the right point in our lives to also be able to sun on people in NAIA, right? Or this idea about Michael Jordan and how work ethic is what pushes him over the top. No, you got to be 6'6" first. Then you got to be able to jump quite literally out of the building. We're talking about a 48-inch vertical, right? And then you have to want it. Now, we all want it, or at least we all think we want it. But also that prodigious ability to be able to continue to pick up information and store it, right? The only other person in the NBA I've ever seen do that is LeBron James, right? Every year you get better, and not just every year, but every week. Because James Worthy telling those stories about, hey, I was better than Mike for about 2 weeks. Because he would be relentless in his want to get better. And Roy Williams, for all of his faults this year, by the way, he signed the number 3 class of 2020, was shining in this docuseries last night, telling these Jordan stories, saying Jordan came up to him and said, I want to be the best player that's ever played here. And he says, well, you're going to have to work harder than everybody. So I work hard just as hard as everybody. Hey, wait a second. You told me you wanted to be the best player to ever play here. And Roy Williams, who is as fiery as you can read about and is seeped in North Carolina, even giving up Kansas for that job, was really into telling stories. And also, you can't really say a wrong thing about Jordan if you are on Jordan's side because everything checks out. That's the most remarkable part of this docuseries. Everything everybody says about him checks out. When you talk about greatest of all time on a basketball court, right? You have to talk about him. You have to. And then you have Larry Bird, who gets to say that was not Michael Jordan who dropped 63 on us. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan. Put that on the tombstone. You know what I mean? Put that on the monument. Never mind all of these other things that were going to come out and have come out. But also you could see what kind of a tyrant Jordan was. Like it takes some moxie to call your general manager crumbs to his face. It takes some moxie for the folks on your team, notably Scottie Pippen, to believe that they too can just cuss out the general manager and really go after him. Now, Pippen had monetary reasons for this because at a time when Jordan was making $30 million a year, which adjusts to about $52 million a year in today's money. For perspective, Steph Curry makes $40 million a year, right? Scottie Pippen is making $18 million over 7, to which everybody was in agreement that this was a crappy contract, to which everybody's saying, why did you sign the contract? You know, Well, we thought that the Bulls would do right by him because he's the second best player in the league. No, that ain't how business works. Show me somebody that's getting paid what they're worth, and I'll show you somebody that's being overpaid. Okay? Most of us believe that we're worth more than will we get paid to do a job. It's the fact of life, right? It's just as it's a fact of life that it's the price of doing business to do business, right? Jerry Reinsdorf said, hey, I have a rule. Once you sign a contract, don't come back to me. Play out your contract. And he got to do that because we didn't really have super maxes and maxes and things of those sorts. Those things are relatively recent developments that notably Chris Paul helped push through. And we could talk about the deification of many of our NBA stars now and how that's working against them in this pandemic. But that was one of the things that I really thought we needed to suss out. And one of the reasons that I have a problem with so many docuseries, you have to hit hard why these people are different than you and me. Because you can lead kids to believe that that could be them. Okay, maybe, but I'm 5'5". The chances of me playing in the NBA are on the floor, based entirely on my height. And you can come out here with Spud Webb and Bunny Ball if you want to, right? Muggsy if you want to, but that just ain't the way of it. The way of it is you need to be 6'4" to 7 feet. Matter of fact, Rod Thorne says out loud, hey, we would have liked it more if Jordan was 7'1", but he ain't. And I'm going, when did 6'6" become short? When did that become a bad thing? Think about that. Jordan is 6'6", and people are saying he might not be enough. Hey, no player in the history of the NBA has won an NBA title by himself. Well, no, but he's certainly done it with lesser players. You know what LeBron did in 07 and 09? Come on. That's Jordan in 86. That's Jordan in 85. Now, one of the other parts about this that I found just kind of sealed it for Krause and Thorne, really, but Krause early on, was this idea of 7 minutes or less. So, Mayberry, Jordan broke a bone in his foot and had to miss more than 60 games in his sophomore season. And he had vowed to make the playoffs every year, right? So he convinced the Bulls to let him go back to school because he'd come out early. But in going back to school, he did what he wasn't supposed to do, which is play pickup. He played 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 5-on-5. And then by the time he comes back, he lets everybody know, I've been playing pickup. And they go, you've been doing what? Because with this foot injury, which was slow to heal, because it wasn't a place where you could easily get blood flow, there was really one diagnosis that people agreed on, which is that you have a 90% probability to being just fine, being able to play in the NBA and not hurt it more and not break it again. But there's a 10% probability that he could have sussed out his ability to play in the NBA forever if he came down wrong on this foot again. To which Krause and ownership were like, cool, we'll just take this year off from Jordan and we'll wait for next year, and maybe we'll wait on trying to get a lottery pick because we'll just tank and put some more players around him. Jordan didn't like that. So they came up with this, in retrospect, horrible idea to let the man play 14 minutes per game, 7 in the first half, 7 in the second half, an arbitrary number that they really didn't come up with any sort of logic for, right? It's just a number they threw out there. But Jordan would go balls out for those 7 minutes. And in going out, balls out for those 7 minutes, in one point, he had them in contention to make the playoffs. And they needed to win a game against Indiana. And I believe it was on the road. So they had this buzzer that would go off, which is another bad idea, just obnoxious idea. And when that buzzer went off, it was time to sit him. So head coach at the time, Laughley, says, hey, I got to sit you. And Jordan is irate about it because they have 14 seconds left to play and they need a game-winning shot. Now, Paxson ends up hitting that shot and they make the playoffs. But that soured Jordan on Krause and management because they had flaunted the rule of you try to win every game. And I continue to say what I said last summer about this Oklahoma City Thunder team. They made me so proud because they didn't quit and they didn't go for a lottery pick. Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, Steven Adams, Dennis Schroeder, the boys decided they wanted to play some basketball. And before this thing happened and this thing went down, they were going to be in the playoffs. Coming off of this weekend, they would have played a series with somebody. And I was so proud of that. So the idea that Sam Presti might have thrown in the towel on that, I was not going to get behind. Sitting players at this point in our lives has become part and parcel. I mean, Kawhi Leonard played like fewer than 60 games and won an NBA title because of load management, right? It's something we'll let people get away with now in a way that you just couldn't get away with it in the early 80s. But that was also one of the reasons that Jerry Krause was good at his job and one of the reasons that Michael Jordan hated him, right? And would just style on him. Talking about, Jerry, you're going to come out and play, you're going to come out here and play with us. To which he would follow up with, I got to lower the rim because Jerry Krause, 5'6", 230 pounds. You know what I mean? You just dunking on him every chance he got. Lots to say about this. Matter of fact, I want to pick this up when we come back. I also want to get into Texas football, Sam Ehlinger, and what's going on down there.